there are two independent issues. Very sharp contestation between US and China and getting caught in the middle of it. And I think we've come to the conclusion that maybe now the liability law needs to be amended in a way in which, because at the end of the day, you know, what's the good of having a great initiative if it doesn't actually deliver results on the ground? And so what started off in 2005 as the opening of our pathway, if it has not produced the kind of outcomes which were envisaged 20 years ago, I think we should have the honesty to ask ourselves, okay, what is it which needs to be done differently? And I would say this government has the courage to ask that question. The second issue, which is autonomous of that, is when you look generally at the global nuclear industry, I would say in most cases there is a role for the private sector, and the state has certain designated responsibilities. I mean, it's a regulator, it's a licensor, it deals with the safety, security, I mean, the safeguards, whatever it is. But I think there is a question we need to ask ourselves whether we should not be opening it up to the private sector. And I can tell you just anecdotally that at least there seems to already have evoked a strong expression of interest from the private sector. So there are two independent issues, but I think on both the government has taken a view that it's prepared to look at it and move forward.
Let me ask you a deep question about a deep issue. There are a lot of developers in this room from different parts of the world, but also in India. And many of those from India have started fine-tuning various solutions on top of DeepSeek. And the question they keep asking is that, look, it's ostensibly open source. We can fine-tune it. We can use it for various applications. But obviously there is a concern that if the government of India takes a different view on one of our neighbors, it might put us in a bit of jeopardy. India banned TikTok back in 2020. Is there a likelihood of that happening anytime in the future?
I will be deeply evasive about answering that question.
Thank you,
The honest answer is I don't think at this time there is any determination in this regard.
Thank you, Minister. What we did to kind of break this conversation in different ways, we wrote to about 30-40 people from around the world, key technologists, key thinkers on technology. We filtered some of those questions down, and I'm going to take three very quickly. The first question from Russell Waruba, who heads digital policy in Papua New Guinea. Russell?
Good morning, Honorable Minister Dr. Shashank. Thank you very much for your support to Papua New Guinea and the Pacific. Sir, my question to you is, we've heard a lot about the Quad and the Pacific. Could you tell us how the Quad could help island states like mine? Thank you, sir.
If I can take can I take three? Would that be okay, sir?
Sure.
The second, Rosa Balfour, Director of Carnegie Europe.
Thank you very much, Rudra. I'm based in Brussels. I'm usually based in Brussels now, in the front row here. And I'd like to ask you, what does Europe misunderstand about India?
Sorry, what does Europe misunderstand about India? And the third question is by Thorsten Brenner, who's the co-founder of GPPI based in Berlin. Thorsten? Yep.
Thank you, Rudra. Dr. Jaishankar, faced with Chairman Xi and President Trump, Europe confronts the dual challenge of de-risking. And I'm just curious what Europeans could learn from the Indian experience of managing dependencies.
So,
These were the easy ones.
These were the easy ones, sir.
Okay. So the Quad and what can it do for Pacific island states? I think we have been trying to do some things. There have been actually achievements on the ground. A lot of things are still in the pipeline. In fact, just yesterday, day before yesterday, we announced Quad STEM fellowships for Pacific nations. So that's one example. But if I were to look at the bigger things we are trying to do, I would say there would be areas where individual Quad countries would be weighing in. There would be more collective, coordinated activities. Areas like, say, connectivity to some degree, telecom, responding to natural disasters, early warning systems, even health issues. So there's a fairly broad agenda there. What we've been trying to do on a bilateral level is actually the agenda is not self-fulfilling. We need the partner also to show their interest and move things. Say in the case of Papua New Guinea, for example, we've committed, now this is as India, to a space application center. We would be keen to help in health response systems, or in fact in matters to do with IUU fishing. So what the Quad does is it offers a whole lot of choices on areas which are developmental priorities of Pacific Islands. And it's up to the island really to exercise those choices. But it does certainly strengthen your hand and in many cases give you very tested solutions, on weather forecasting, in issues like, say, dialysis, in 5G based on Open RAN. So that would be my broad answer. On what does Europe misunderstand about India? Look, I'm not sure I would use that word. There are gaps. I mean, I'm not being diplomatic about it. Often we tend to see a degree of judgmentalism based on Europe's own situation. So to the extent Europe has had the good fortune of having a certain strategic comfort for multiple decades. For a continent which saw so much violence and bloodshed, then you've had really 70, 80 years. Yes, there have been some issues. Yugoslavia was one. What's happening right now in Ukraine is another. But by and large, Europe has enjoyed a period of peace, prosperity, stability, security, and complacency, which came out of it. So now Europe is compelled by global developments to perhaps conceptualize its own interests more sharply and then see how it can secure that optimally. So some of our debates is, a region which is very secure finds it very hard to understand another which is going through very difficult challenges. So whether it is on an issue like terrorism, whether it is even on matters like, territorial, I would say, integrity and sanctity of borders. We have not always had the kind of understanding and support that we expected out of Europe. So I think today the strategic reawakening of Europe has created the basis for much more serious conversations on many more subjects, especially matters relating to security and strategy. Also the economics and I would say the demographics are bringing us together. That when I look, for example, at a country like Germany, when Chancellor Schulz was here in October, a lot of our conversations with him and his team actually revolved around skilled mobility of skilled talent to support German industry and German tech. So there are strong convergences. I think those convergences will grow with the passage of time. And certainly when we speak of a multipolar world, for us it's very important that Europe is a pole and thinks of itself as a pole. So for that reason, I'm actually somewhat optimistic of the turn of events. On the US and China, look, our experiences are very different. Some of it flows from what I said about Europe, that we've actually seen both extremes. For the first few decades after independence, very sharp contestation between US and China and getting caught in the middle of it. And then even worse, deep collaboration between US and China and being at the wrong end of it. So, neither situation for us. So it's kind of like a Goldilocks problem, So you want ideally a kind of an optimal situation, but they're not going to oblige the rest of the world. I think we are clearly heading for a period of sharp competition and contestation. Different countries need to plan for it. That planning is going to be much harder. It's going to be much harder because in the past we could insulate sectors, saying, this doesn't matter, this is only trade. It's not political, it's not defense, it's not sensitive. I think what is our definition of what is sensitive has expanded. Nothing is only trade anymore. No investments are as purely, nothing is purely business anymore. Everything is also personal. So that world makes it much more complicated really to navigate this, but navigate it we must. I think this is actually going to be the predicament for the world, which is to do a more difficult journey with many more obstacles in a much more challenging kind of topography.